Greetings and bright blessings, croeso, and welcome to Magic Soup, a super spiritual, wild, weird, and sometimes extremely witchy podcast hosted by myself, Holly Charles, also known as Holistic Holly, a channel, medium, teacher, facilitator, and guide, assisting those on a journey of spiritual awakening and exploration. I hope you enjoy the insights and information I share from my 20 plus years experience in the field. I simply ask that you listen with an open heart and open mind, taking what resonates and leaving what doesn't. Thanks for being here. Diolch yn fawr. Let's dive in. Hello, greetings and bright blessings, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this first episode of my Magic Soup podcast. It's been a long time coming. This is actually like the third or fourth time I've sat down to record this episode, and just a few things have come about in the last 24 hours that have really inspired me, that I felt have really pushed me, inspired me, guided me, liberated me, I suppose, from the things that were holding me back, perhaps from sharing the ones that I've already recorded, or I don't know, there's this kind of transformational energy around at the moment, and yeah, I just felt really inspired and called to jump on and start recording this today with so much excitement in my belly, and just this real feeling of alignment, I guess. So without any further ado, let's crack on. And I'm going to be talking to you today a little bit about, what my intentions are for this podcast, and a little bit about my story, who I am, why I'm doing this, I guess. So you would have heard from the intro, I suppose, that I am a modern day mystic, a medicine woman. I am a clairvoyant medium, a channel, a holistic health practitioner, and a mum of 3. I don't know if I mentioned that in the beginning. I've got a family, a very busy life, trying to juggle everything, trying to find balance, trying to make my way in this crazy world that is shifting and evolving before our very eyes. I've been on this journey for 20 years this year. As of recording, it is January 2025, and I started, my whole life, I guess, has been a journey leading me to this point, but I started my mediumship development and really applying myself to my spiritual path when I was 19, and I was in uni at the time. I was exploring meditation at the time, and I guess on my own sort of healing journey, and I found my way through a series of coincidences, as we do. I found my way to a spiritualist church that wasn't very far from where I lived at the time. I was in a student flat with my 2 best friends at the time, and it was an absolutely transformational experience for me. There's that word again. It was paradigm altering, completely changing my view of how things were. But it also was a coming home. It was this feels right, this feels comfortable, I feel like I know this already. And it was actually that evening that I found myself in a spiritualist church was a pivotal point, because from that night on, pretty much every week, every Monday night, I would go from 7 till 10:30. Every Monday evening I would go and I would sit in a psychic study session, and then in what is known in spiritualist churches as a development circle and a development group. And that, it very much set me on my way to becoming the teacher that I am now. My mentor, the late great Ken Morris, who is one of the most impressive mediums, the most incredible mediums that I've ever come across. So blessed to have him as a mentor, and I'm surely going to be talking about him in future episodes of this. But he was such an incredible teacher and a guide, and he saw something in me that I clearly didn't see in myself, being very early on in my healing journey in those days. And the evenings that he couldn't make it, he would ask me to run it in his absence. And he always used to jokingly say he was training me up to take over from him because he wanted to retire. On the other side of things, so that was when my kind of spiritual progression started. And on the other side of things, like I said, I was in uni. I decided to change trajectories, and I didn't drop out, but I finished my degree. But before I even graduated, I had already enrolled and been interviewed and got a place on a holistic therapies course in a college back in my hometown. So after I graduated from uni, I moved back home and I began on my path to become a holistic healer, holistic health practitioner. And that unfolded, and anyone who is a holistic healer or therapist in any form knows what an addictive pathway to pursue that is, because especially being a Gemini, my insatiable hunger for knowledge led me to train in many modalities from all over the world, both physical and energetic. I also became a spiritual healer through the church that I was a part of, the Christian Spiritualist Church. Not a Christian, by the way. I was raised Christian, but I definitely haven't followed that path. I'm not a believer in any organized religion whatsoever. I think beliefs are very restrictive, and I'm very open-minded. I consider myself to be an eclectic pagan, and I very much worship and honor the earth, and I'm an animist in that I believe that everything has consciousness, everything has a soul, and it's, I follow the sacred earth traditions, the ancient wise earth traditions in my personal practices and my heart. For me, the most beautiful place to be, where I feel most connected to source, if you like, to life, is in a forest surrounded by trees, touching the soft moss on the ground or on the trunks of trees. That to me is the most sacred place on earth. But yeah, so I became a healer because I needed a healer. I needed to be healed. So that's why I pursued my journey to become a healer. And I, as I said, have been insatiably hungry for knowledge my entire life. I am a Gemini, as I mentioned. I'm also a life path 9 in numerology, which, for those of you who know about numerology, I think also says a lot about me. Life path 9 is the number of the teacher. And I have this talent, I suppose, for sharing information in a way that is easy for people to understand. And with, 20 years of experience of personal development, spiritual development, of healing my own wounds, of learning to accept and love myself in the shadow of the shadow aspects of myself, I think I have learned a great many things. And so my goal, my aspiration, my desire is to give people the tools and the tips and the tricks and give people things to add to their personal toolkit to help them on their journeys. You know, it's ultimately about empowering people. You know, I don't know, well, some of you may have seen it. There's this medicine woman's prayer that is floating around the internet. I know I've shared it on my social media more than one occasion. And, you know, it says, you know, if you come to me for help, I'm not going to heal you. I'm going to show you how to heal yourself. And I'm very much about showing people the magic within themselves, sharing information, wisdom, inspiration with people so they can find who they truly are in the middle of this crazy, crazy world. Now, the name Magic Soup came to me a few years ago, and it actually came to me in that magical space between asleep and awake, where it's much easier for our guides and inspirers to get information through to us because our busy monkey mind and all of the busy things that we have going on in our heads, our pollution, if you like, our energetic pollution, isn't in the way. We are out of the way. And the idea came to me then. And the tagline also came in. The wild, weird and witchy podcast, because I wanted, well, I say I was guided, and you know, that in essence is what my journey has been and what I aspire to be, is in service to the divine and the divine plan, you know. And so I always, when it comes to events or whatever, I book the space not knowing what I'm going to be doing, but trusting that my teammates, my ancestors, angels, guides, allies, whoever is working with me for the divine plan to unfold through me, will show up and tell me what it is that I need to do and when I need to do it. And, you know, that is true of all things. I'm trusting this process. I'm trusting that I'm being divinely guided to create this podcast to help empower, inspire, and hopefully uplift people along the way. I think another goal that I wanted to achieve with this podcast is to make something that I'm so passionate about, that I am so unbelievably in love with, relatable to people, easy to digest. There are a lot of kind of spiritual podcasts and audiobooks and YouTube channels and, dare I say it, TikToks, not that I'm on TikTok, but there are so many channels out there now, outlets out there now, sharing about these topics that I love, that I want to talk about, but do so in a manner that can be quite boring, uninspiring, dare I say it, quite beige. And, you know, I want to bring the humour, I want to bring the understanding, I want to bring the passion, because, you know, I want people to be as enthusiastic about this stuff as I am, and I want to raise the vibration, raise the frequency, and help people find the light within themselves and the light that is out there in the world. You know, again, at the time of recording, the world looks very bleak out there. We're being told a very one-sided tale about what is unfolding in the world right now, and I want to help to raise the frequency, raise the vibration, not through any spiritual bypassing and ignoring the darkness and ignoring the things that trigger us and make us angry, and, you know, the things that are unfair in the world. Absolutely not, but to kind of counter that, because we ultimately have to take responsibility for our own frequency and what we are contributing to the collective consciousness and the collective energy for all. You know, we are receivers and emitters of vibrational frequency, and we are all connected through the consciousness grid, through the collective consciousness. And our frequency, it affects those around us, and it affects the collective energy. So by working on ourselves, being responsible for our own energy and what we are emitting, and the way our behaviors are influencing that frequency, we can make radical change. We've been lied excuse me, my throat croaking then. We've been lied to about our ability to impact change. Yes, some of us are here to man the picket lines with our placards and shout from the rooftops and be protesting. Yeah, some of us are here for that. Some of us are here to hold the light for others. Some of us are here to be in the trenches, experiencing the darkest of the dark and the most difficult things that, are possible for humans to experience. And we signed up for all of it before we got here. Through the process of reincarnation and soul contracts and the evolution of our soul, we signed up to have certain experiences when we got here. And we have to stop seeing things as so black and white, so good versus evil, because ultimately it is all divine. It is all part of the plan. And controversially, I guess, I believe that what we are experiencing now on planet Earth are the birthing pains. We are going through what we need to go through in order for the majority of the people that are still sleeping, in inverted commas, to wake up, to really realize that they can make a difference, to really realize what has been going on in the world that they've turned a blind eye to, or how much we have been corrupted and distracted and manipulated far more than I think anyone on the surface level of society really realizes. I have been a proud tinfoil hat wearer for many, many years. I have been a conspiracy theorist, quote unquote, for a very long time now. Probably about 2 decades. I'd probably say it was around that time. It was when I was living in the flat, when I was a student in Cardiff. That I came across certain documentaries and certain people that were very outspoken about exposing conspiracies, and it opened my mind to questioning things. And that's what I think I really want to put across, is my ethos always in all that I share, is take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and use the little seeds that I'm sprinkling to go and do your own research, and to don't take everything I say as this is the truth or what have you. I think it's all about having responsibility when we have a platform, right? And particularly when we are connected to source as a communicator, clairvoyant mediums and psychics and what have you. Some people do put us on a pedestal, and those that aren't, initially labeling us as heretics or charlatans or frauds or mentally ill. Those that are already walking this path and connected and aware of source, and the spiritualist principles of life enduring after death and being able to connect with our loved ones when they're no longer physical anymore. People do put us on a pedestal and listen to what we say unquestioningly. I think a lot of people seek messages and communication as well to absolve themselves of their own responsibility and to get someone else to make the decisions for them. And so, if you are in this line of work or exploring expansion in this kind of work, you need to be careful and you need to take that on board. I'm not here to convince anyone of anything either. Again, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. I think there is this confrontational aspect of skepticism, or even those who kind of have no beliefs or faith or what have you, and I'm not here to convince anyone of anything. I think until these people have their own experiences or experience their own loss or their own kind of paradigm altering event, like a near-death experience, they are going to stay closed off. Some skeptics are so closed off that even with clear evidence, whether it's coming from like a kind of physics, a quantum physics perspective, or whether these experiments into noetic science or the effects of consciousness and thought on matter. I mean, there's so much research done now into ESP, extrasensory perception, and astral travel, projecting our consciousness. There's some great TED Talks on that were actually removed and then reinstated. One gentleman particularly, forgive me, I forget his name, who worked in a government project in America that ran for several years that had millions of dollars invested in it. And I mean, there's even, the Russians are famous for using psychic spies and investing money in that. Now, if there was nothing in it, that money wouldn't have been invested in it. So these people that are still kind of aggressively skeptical in the face of such evidence, then there's no convincing them. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink at the end of the day. And it's clearly not their path for them to be open up to these kind of potentials and possibilities just yet. And that's fine. So if you are on this sort of pathway, if you are a spiritual seeker, or you feel connected to the magic of the world, or you are just curious, and perhaps you are walking this path in isolation, it is a lonely path. It can be a lonely path till you find your tribe. So just know that it's okay. You don't have to convince anyone of anything, and you don't have to believe what other people say if it doesn't resonate with you. And, like I said, I was raised a Christian, didn't resonate with me. I actually spent 7 years of my childhood in Borneo in Southeast Asia, where I was able to see and experience and witness so many different religions, so many different spiritual traditions, and ways of thinking about things, that I was never going to fit into that closed box of Christian beliefs, because I was experiencing, the native tribes that lived in the rainforests, who were speaking to the ancestors who they believed lived in the trees that were around them. I was exposed to so many different things, and it's opened me up to view the world in such a broader way. And I think, all by design, obviously, but my mind was never closed off to to other spiritual practices and other religions, and I am lucky enough that I have, managed to experience and learn from so many different traditions without ridicule, without persecution. And the witch wound is such a real thing. So many people are afraid to speak up and speak out about being different or believing slightly different things or wanting to explore different areas because of persecution that we've experienced. We want to be accepted, we want to be safe, and so we try to fit in with those around us, keep our light small and hide who we are. We don't want to speak up and out about our potentially innate magical abilities. And I say magical abilities like our innate spiritual abilities, whether they be telepathy, clairvoyance, whether it's having premonitions, whether it's connecting with loved ones over the other side or seeing spirits around us. I think we're so afraid of ridicule because it has been programmed into society that it's nonsense. So that is changing, absolutely. But in past lives we've been persecuted for it. In this life perhaps we've been ridiculed for it. And so sometimes it's hard to connect with other people. But I just want to be a beacon for others, to say embrace every aspect of who you are, the magic, the weirdness, the strangeness, the unusualness. Fly that freak flag high so that you can find your tribe, so that other people can see you and hear you and be inspired to say, do you know what, me too, and I love that about you. So we can connect with one another, and so we can go forward together, changing the paradigm of the world that we live in. It's so much more commonplace now than ever before. I mean, my gosh, I saw tarot cards and colouring books and crystals on sale in the supermarket back last year. So if those things are for sale in a supermarket, you know that the paradigm is changing and things are shifting. A couple of years ago, we were still getting ridiculed for telling people that we believed aliens exist, that we believed in crop circles. And now, look, disclosure is closer than ever, that we are not alone, that we haven't been alone, that, that we are in a vast galactic community. And I'm hoping to kind of bridge the gap and help these topics, these wonderfully exciting, exhilarating, expansive topics, can no longer be relegated to the shadows, but bring them out into the light of day, bringing them up into day-to-day conversation and helping people feel more comfortable about talking about these topics and sharing them. So I hope that this resonates with you. I hope that it's piqued your interest in some way. If it has, then please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the notifications bell if you haven't already, so you don't miss an episode. You can find me across my social media platforms. You can support me on Patreon, where you will receive wonderful perks and benefits in support for in exchange for some support and assisting me on helping to make my ambition of reaching as many people around the world as I can, to bring them into this community and to help them love themselves where they are and explore the world with wide-eyed interest and curiosity, and connecting with the magic within themselves, and that is all around them. So please reach out. I run many workshops. I run regular meditation sessions on Zoom as well as in person, and as well as doing tarot readings. I run retreats. I've got a mentorship program that's coming up that I'm going to be launching in March for people that want to kind of deeper dive into these topics with more of a guiding hand. I'm running spiritual exploration and psychic study sessions now monthly to help people connect with these topics in person at a farm locally to myself, in a beautiful little hall that is a dedicated spiritual space. So until next time, if you have any questions or topic suggestions, do reach out. My website is www.hollysholistic.healing.co.uk, at holistic_Holly on the majority of social media platforms. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care. So much love. And remember that the support of countless ancestors is behind you. All you need to do is ask for your loved ones to come in and support you. Take care. Bye for now. Thank you so much for spending time listening to my podcast. I really, really appreciate you, and I am truly, truly honoured. Remember, face your demons. Laugh, love, dance, sing, create and play at every opportunity, and remember, kindness first for yourself and others. Wherever in the world you're listening from and whatever time of day it is, I hope and I pray that the rest of your day is filled with magic. You are divine, and I hope to catch you in the next episode of Magic Soup.